All right, boys and girls, well, we've got two last things I want us to work on today. And Mom and Dad, this is also some information for you. When we look at our phonics, 153, there's not anything on our back. And we look at our math, 135, 136, you'll notice both of them have a yellow square at the top. Now, if we were doing these at school, boys and girls, this would be office work. Mom and Dad, this would be a grade for the grade book. But obviously, since we're working at home, I would like for you, as much as possible, if you can see how much your child can do on their own. I know when I look at their papers, I know I can kind of get an idea on some of the things, but it sure would help if you can kind of get an idea too on what they kind of know, what they're grasping, the information. So again, the different directions are on here. First and last name always, but they would need to mark the vowels. Here, they would need to circle the special sounds, two different directions. They don't have to mark the vowels here. Special sounds, again, would be our blends and our digraphs on there. Now, when you look at he and you look at my, they would call those special sounds the E and the Y. And I know that gets a little confusing on there, but they would call that, Rebecca would call that a special sound. So they would circle the E and the Y, and you can kind of explain that. I'm not so worried about those, as they know the special sounds for the tra, the digraphs, and the blends. I know marking the vowels can get very old for the kids. Some of the kids, it's a great strategy. Some of the kids don't need it. But I just want to make sure as they go into first grade, they're expected to mark those vowels and to know what that means. So a lot of that strategy is to help them as they move into first grade too. Again, it's helpful for some kids. Some kids can kind of do it in their head and see that, and that's okay. But I just want them to know that when they go into first grade and they're told to start marking those vowels in that Rebecca curriculum, that they're good to go on that, all right? Again, listening, making sure they hear the sounds, they know the sounds. That goes a long way in helping them learn to read. And again, we see that in these pictures. Pretzel. This one is thought. Little picture, I thought. Spider. Blue. I blew the candle, or I blow the candle out, blah, sta, and tractor there. All right. So again, just make sure they have those nailed down, and sentences, fill in or circle which one. We do that a lot. And again, extra practice. And as always, if they need to mark vowels, that's never counted against them at all if that's a strategy your child needs. So it would be a great idea if we could kind of get an idea where they are on some of those strategies on that. On their math, on the same thing, first and last name, this would be a page they would do on their own. Kind of give me an idea. Are they listening to the number, and can they write the number? And again, any number 1 to 100, they should be able to hear the number and write the number. They should be able to figure out the family, 64. Oh, 60 family, 64, and do that, all right? And numbers should be faced the right way. Before and after, we would always make sure they understood the concept before and after, and do some examples, but they should know what comes before. And if they need to say it out loud, the 40 family, 40, 41, 42, that's fine. They would need to do that. 60, sometimes the number at the end, the 10, because they're switching families. You're going from the 20 family, 30, and then the 30 family. Sometimes again, I might have to stop and think about that one. Sometimes again, it just helps if they can say it out loud. If they need to write it out, we had number charts all over the room they could look at, even on their desk. So those strategies are also helpful, just so they could get an idea what before, what after. And again, a lot of that is just helpful when they can hear it and say it. All right, so not a problem there for extra practice. The directions, those are all what? Those are all addition, and we would make sure we're always joining together. Always okay to use manipulatives. If they need to use their fingers, that's okay. They will usually move away from those, so we don't panic in kindergarten if they're still using their fingers to add up. Some of them are starting to do it in their head or just memorizing, and that's good too. The clock, as I mentioned yesterday, that just takes a lot of constant practice. The thing to remember with this one is they're going to have to write it. And depending on how much they've done on their workbooks, how much they have practiced writing it. Now, we had written the time to the hour. We had written time to the hour, like 8 o'clock, 8, and then ... 00 o'clock. The one that might be a little different is when they are doing to the 15. All right, that might need a little extra practice. For example, if they were writing 6, the dot's always the same, but that would be 15. And again, the other one is a little different, would be the 30. Okay, so those two. The o'clock, time to the hour, we had done that a lot, so it shouldn't have any problems with that. But the 15, the 30, like we see here, they might need a little extra practice. And again, just some little review on telling time to the hour. But these would, again, be graded practice to kind of give me an idea where they are. The back is just kind of a fun picture where they get to do some counting. Mostly just make sure they're counting. If they still need to touch and count, that's okay. And we're still making sure there's no backward numbers. By now, we should not be seeing too many backward numbers. Now, if we do, that's all right. Just kind of take a look at it, remind them, say, hey, does that look right? They should be able to erase it and fix it. Still not unusual to see those backward 9s and 3s and 5s. So just a little reminder, and then they should be able to erase it and fix it. Again, we had these things all over the classroom and even on their desks that they could visually see. Of course, we can see numbers on here too to also help. So let's go ahead and work on both of those, boys and girls, and do your best on those. And I look forward to see your papers and see how well you did.